And let's now bring in Al Jazeera's Rory Challand in occupied East Jerusalem for us. Rory, as we've been reporting, there are ongoing regional and international efforts to extend the ceasefire beyond the 4 days. Is there domestic pressure in Israel for a longer ceasefire?
Well, there absolutely is from the families, and there is from certain parts of, for want of a better word, the Israeli street. The Bring Them Home campaign is still in full swing. Not all of the hostages are back, so there is a serious campaign to get the remaining captives home again. And there is, it appears, a bit of pressure coming from across the Atlantic as well, with the Joe Biden administration said that it's hopeful for an extension of the deal. I think that's probably diplomatic speak for please get on and do it. But it doesn't seem like there is that much pressure coming from parts of the organs of state, so to speak. Now, the military, Shin Bet, Mossad and the government all supported the original deal that we're just getting to the last day of now. But militarily and strategically, there's a dilemma, because although the Israeli army is using this lull in the fighting to prepare for the next stage of fighting, which everyone assumes is going to be coming at some point, but so is Hamas. Hamas is using this to retool, refuel and regroup and draw breath, essentially. Also, every day that there is an exchange and Palestinian prisoners are coming out of Israeli jails, Hamas is getting stronger in the West Bank, more popular. Hamas is being thanked by the families of those coming out of Israeli prisons for getting their loved ones free. If you look at the celebrations going on in the occupied West Bank, Ramallah, Nablus, Jenin, etc., it's Hamas flags that are being waved around. So these two things, I'm sure, are being discussed in the Israeli War Cabinet when it is looking at whether or not to go for an extension of the deal.
Rory, thank you for the moment. Rory Challand live for us in Tel Aviv. Well, as Rory alluded to there in a phone call with US President Joe Biden, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he welcomed the idea of extending the ceasefire by 1 day in exchange for the release of 10 additional captives held by Hamas in Gaza. Let's find out more with Rosiland Jordan in Washington, D.C. Ros, tell us more about what was said during this phone conversation. The Biden administration clearly has a lot riding on this ceasefire.
The U.S. administration is very much interested in expanding the truce or ceasefire inside Gaza, primarily not just to get the captives out, but also to get more humanitarian aid, more fuel to provide electricity, to operate hospitals and other facilities, to get in food, to get in medicine, to try to provide emergency shelter to the millions of people inside Gaza who have become internally displaced, to use a term favored by the United Nations. This is a situation where the humanitarian crisis is becoming a political problem for the Biden administration, and the president certainly alluded to that in brief remarks to reporters on Sunday while he was on Nantucket. The U.S. president said that there are explorations underway to try to continue this ceasefire, in large part because of the humanitarian needs. And it's also noteworthy that there seems to be a growing sense here in Washington that doing so basically makes it more possible to actually talk about the long-term goal of establishing a separate political entity known as the State of Palestine. But that cannot happen while active fighting is underway, in part because it has become so controversial. So trying to find a way to extend this ceasefire from the current 4 days into a longer period is something that is being explored. But beyond initiating a desire to see that happen, the U.S. administration is being very quiet about how to make that actually happen.
Ross, thank you very much for the update. Rosiland Jordan live there in Washington, D.C.